All right, let's just jump right into this explainer. We're going to start by immediately testing your own pop culture memory, just to see how reliable your brain really is. Let's play a quick game. I want you to trust your gut and visualize the answers to these next two questions.
First up, picture the famous Monopoly mascot in your mind's eye. Good old rich Uncle Pennybags. Think about his top hat, his mustache, his fancy suit. Now, tell me, does he wear a monocle? Lock in your answer.
Okay, next, let's jump over to a totally different pop culture icon. Picture Pikachu from Pokémon. Think about his yellow body, those bright red cheeks, his pointy little ears. Now look closely at his lightning bolt tail in your mind. Does the tip of that yellow tail have a black mark on it? Lock that in too.
Well, if you answered yes to either of those, your memory has literally just lied to you. The Monopoly Man has never worn a monocle, and Pikachu's tail, it is completely yellow. But honestly, what's truly fascinating here isn't just that you were wrong. It's that you are absolutely not alone. Millions of other people share your exact same false memory. So how is it even possible that so many completely unconnected people vividly remember the exact same incorrect details?
That brings us to Section 1. What is the Mandela Effect? Let's investigate the psychological whodunit behind these really specific shared memory glitches.
The actual term Mandela Effect was coined back in 2009 by a paranormal researcher named Fiona Broom. It comes from this remarkably widespread but completely false recollection that the South African anti-apartheid revolutionary Nelson Mandela died in prison during the 1980s. I mean, people distinctly remembered watching news coverage of his funeral. But in reality, he was released in 1990, became president of South Africa, and lived all the way until 2013. When Broom discovered but countless others shared her vivid yet completely fabricated memory, the phenomenon finally had a name.
Now, because these memories feel so incredibly real to us, the internet just loves to blame paranormal phenomena. You will find forums absolutely flooded with conspiracy theories. People claiming we're drifting between alternate timelines, or that it's the result of reality-altering experiments at the CERN particle collider, or even literal glitches in some Matrix-style simulation. But we are going to entirely bypass the pseudoscience today and look at the real culprit: human cognition.
Which leads into Section 2, the psychology of false memories. To really solve this mystery, we have to understand that human memory is not some high-fidelity video recording of the past. It is definitely not a static archive you can just browse through. Memory is actually much more like a reconstructive puzzle, and it's made of 3 distinct stages. First, you've got encoding, which is where we pay attention to information and connect it to stuff we already know. Second is storage, where we hold that info in our short or long-term memory. And third is retrieval, which is accessing that information later via cues. Every single time you recall an event, your brain is actively reconstructing that puzzle, pulling pieces from all over the place to build a cohesive picture.
But here's the catch. What happens when puzzle pieces are missing during that retrieval stage? Well, our brains absolutely hate a vacuum, so they engage in this process called confabulation. It's sometimes described by psychologists as honest lying. Your brain just seamlessly synthesizes replacement pieces, filling in the blanks to make the memory make sense. And the wildest part? It does this without us ever consciously realizing that we're basically fabricating the truth.
Let's actually test this out right now. We're going to try the Dies Rodiger McDermott, or DRM task. I want you to read these words carefully and try to memorize them. Bed, rest, awake, tired, dream. You got it? Okay, quick pop quiz. Be totally honest with yourself here. Did you see the word sleep on that list? Really think back to the words you just read. If you said yes, congratulations, you've just experienced a textbook false memory. A full 40% of people will confidently and falsely remember seeing the word sleep. And why is that? Because our brains prioritize the overall gist or semantic meaning of an experience over the literal verbatim details. All those words we looked at were related to sleep, so your brain just efficiently categorized the whole memory under sleep and then confidently confabulated that specific detail during retrieval. And this brings us right to Section 3, schemas, our mental shortcuts. This theory is essentially our primary suspect for why the Mandela effect happens so consistently across huge populations. So what exactly is a schema? Basically, schemas are incredibly useful mental shortcuts. They're frameworks built on our past experiences that help us efficiently navigate a highly complex world, so we don't have to process every single tiny detail around us. For instance, your schema for a kitchen tells you to expect a fridge and an oven, right? That way, you don't have to relearn what a kitchen is every time you walk into a new one. Let's apply this concept and see exactly how it explains our Monopoly man. Culturally, we associate rich early 20th century capitalist archetypes with very specific visual cues. You know the look? A top hat, a cane, a nicely tailored suit, and a monocle. So, when your brain retrieves the image of rich Uncle Pennybags and finds a missing puzzle piece, your schema just automatically slaps a monocle onto his face to complete the stereotype. Your brain isn't broken, it's just being ruthlessly efficient.
We actually see this exact same schema-driven error with Star Wars. So many diehard fans are completely shocked to learn that C-3PO has always had one silver lower leg. Because he's rarely filmed full body, and our schema dictates that a solid gold robot should logically have two gold legs, our brains literally blind us to the silver reality. It just overwrites our memory with solid gold.
All right, Section 4, when schema theory fails. Because just when we think we've cracked the entire case, a major plot twist emerges. A fascinating 2022 University of Chicago study by researchers Deepasri Prasad and Wilma Bainbridge proved that schemas actually don't explain everything.
Let's do one last test together. Picture the classic Fruit of the Loom clothing logo in your head. It's a pile of fruit, right? Now tell me, is there a large woven brown cornucopia sitting right behind that fruit?
Well, millions of people vividly remember a cornucopia. But there isn't one. There never has been. It's just fruit. And here is exactly where schema theory completely falls apart. Think about it. In everyday life, fruit is way more commonly associated with a simple plate or a bowl than it is with a relatively rare woven cornucopia. If our brains were just relying on schemas, we should all falsely remember the fruit sitting on a plate. Schema theory totally fails to explain why millions of us spontaneously chose this highly specific, highly unusual false memory.
This realization led Dr. Wilma Bainbridge to investigate what she famously calls the visual Mandela Effect. Her research reveals a bizarre truth. Certain incorrect images just seem to possess this strange, intrinsic memorability. Even when people are super familiar with characters like Pikachu, they will still confidently pick the wrong image. Her study suggests that there are deep consistencies in what we misremember, causing us to spontaneously make the exact same errors for reasons that cognitive science is honestly still trying to fully map out. Moving into Section 5, the contagion of memory. Finally, to truly grasp the sheer scale of the Mandela Effect today, we've got to look at how these highly specific cognitive glitches spread like wildfire all over the globe.
The digital age has essentially poured gasoline on our faulty memories. The internet acts as this massive global echo chamber, and it turns out human memory is highly suggestible. Simply reading a leading question on social media, something like, "Hey, remember that cornucopia in the Fruit of the Loom logo?" acts as a powerful prime. Through the social contagion of memory, just repeating a false claim actually overwrites our own fragile reconstructive memories until the fiction feels like unquestionable fact.
So, the crucial takeaway here is that the Mandela Effect is not a glitch in the simulation, and it certainly isn't evidence of time travelers messing with our timeline. Instead, it's a fascinating and honestly kind of humbling testament to how adaptable, reconstructive, and incredibly socially influenced our minds truly are. Your memory is a living, fluid narrative that we are all constantly rewriting together. I'm going to leave you with this final thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. If millions of us can collectively misremember something as simple as a monocle or a cartoon character's tail and feel absolute 100% certainty about it, how much of your own personal past is objective fact, and how much is just a beautifully crafted illusion by your own brain? Until next time, stay curious.